My first inclination was to start this program with a little rant. And I said, well, that's really not polite. So let me just explain the situation. Homeowner called me about 2 weeks ago. Said, I got a pool of water in my backyard. I'm not sure where it's coming from. I said, well, you know, gardeners can get the gardeners to dig up that area and expose whatever pipe is underneath there. It might be a sprinkler line or something, and once they expose the pipe, then the repairs can be made. They said, well, that works out. That'd be just fine. So the gardeners, we'll call them Delbert and Delbert, they dug up the hole in the ground and exposed the sprinkler pipe and said, it's not the sprinkler line. It seems to be coming from down below. So I said, well, then it's probably the main water supply line that feeds the house. So you're going to have to dig down farther and expose that pipe, and from that point we can decide what repair has to be made and what step to take next. So they said okay, and I said I'm available by phone at any time. And the days passed and the days passed, and they did a little digging and couldn't find things, and I came back by. I said, there's a leak under there. You see the water? It's not sitting all still. You see the little bubbles coming up? There's definitely water pressure feeding that line, and the water's coming up. They said, okay. I said, I've got to go out of town for a few days, but I'm available by phone. Call me if you need me. So they called me one day, said, okay, we're going to start digging it up. I said, great. Dig that pipe, dig down a little bit farther. That pipe's a good 3 feet plus down. Go ahead and dig that pipe up, and then you can call me, and you tell me what type of pipe it is, what it looks like, and we can discuss it and talk about the game plan on how to fix it. They said, okay. Well, I came back from a nice relaxing vacation and came back over and said, well, how'd it go? Well, we decided not to dig that up. We started to dig, but then water started coming from another area. So we thought, oh, we got to call the water supply company, the people that actually bill the homeowner for the water, and get them to come and shut the water off. Well, but there was no, it's called a curb stop, a place in the ground where it has a valve that you can shut the water off to the house before it actually reaches the house. There's a valve at the house also, but we'll show you that in a minute. And I thought, well, that's okay. That's all right. So I got here yesterday and found that the water people had come in. They take a look around. First guy said, no, I think it's just the water table. I think the water is just rising up out of the ground. I said, Sparky, that is not the way it's going. You can see the water, the bubbles, the air bubbles coming up. Well, let me rephrase that. You used to be able to see. Evidently, the water people decide to start digging for where their curb stop is, and lo and behold, this is what we got. All the dirt from this hole here that they've tried to uncover where the water company's valve is came out of that hole over to this hill. Do I sound a little irritated? You know where that initial break in the pipe was? Right there. Right underneath this pile of dirt. Now, I don't mean to say that you should have listened to me the first time, because that's not polite. So here's the bottom line. Now, we got to take this dirt and move it away from the initial pipe leak, so that then dig down farther again to expose that pipe, so that we can find out what type of pipe it is, get an idea of how to make the repairs or what it is that we got to do. I think I've heard somebody say that before. Then we'll get back with the water supply people. Evidently, actually, the turnoff for this house is not in the homeowner's yard, but in the neighbor's yard on the other side of the fence. So we'll have to get approval from him to get over there to dig in and find all that. Yeah. I was going to start today with a rant, just go on and on about all this, but that's not real polite. So, today I want to talk about the water line that feeds your house. It starts from either sometimes from the backyard in the older homes, sometimes in the front yard from the newer homes. The people that the water company, we'll call them, have lines running all the way, let's say running down the street, and then they tee off to everybody's home. From that tee, there is usually what's called a curb stop. Sometimes if you look in your front lawn, you'll see a plastic lid, and you lift that lid up and you look down in, or perhaps where your meter box is, and there's a little rectangular shaped I don't know what you want to call it. Anyway, it sits on the valve. That's what you have to put a special tool on, and you turn that, and then that shuts off the flow of water coming from your water supplier up to your house. It's pretty important to be able to locate that before there's ever a problem. It's not real difficult. You just got to dig a big hole in the ground. I bet I know a couple of guys that know how to do that real well. Then you locate that if you don't have a meter already. So you locate that valve, and then you actually can put like a pipe down over that opening so that the dirt doesn't fill back in, with a lid on it, so that if you ever need to shut the water off to the house and the shut-off valve at the house isn't working, then you call the water supply people. They'll come out, they'll shut the water off there, and then you can make your repairs. So again, the water feeds from the water supplier, hits either your meter. If you're not metered, then there's some kind of what's called a curb stop, as I said, and it's buried down in the ground about 3 feet plus. The line would then come from that, feed all the way across underneath this big pile of dirt that we have under the ground over to the house. Either in the backyard or the front yard of your house, you're going to find what's a hose bib. This is actually done with a different style of valve, but and you follow that pipe all the way down, and down, sometimes buried in the ground, once again, is a valve that feeds. The pipe comes in and feeds it, and then comes up, tees off, and then feeds into your house. So if you ever needed to turn the water off to your house, perhaps you needed to change some of the valves, the angle valves underneath the kitchen sink or something, you have to turn the water off here first. Sometimes what happens, these are they're put in when the house is originally built, so a couple of things happen. The valve, sometimes the washers inside deteriorate, so you don't get a good seal, so even though you turn it off there, you're still getting a little trickle feed coming in through the house. Sometimes the handles themselves get rusted and deteriorated and break off, so people would put like a pair of pliers on it or something. So that's why having that shut-off out in the yard from the curb stop is really important, because there it definitely shuts off. Well, I'll tell you what. Give me a few days to move that dirt to that side so that I can then uncover my pipe again. Then we'll find out where the curb stop is, get the water provider to, if it is on the other side of the fence in the neighbor's yard, we'll get them to install one on our yard, and we'll put pipe around it with a lid so that it's easy accessible. And then we're going to dig up this pipe, find out where the leak is. Chances are we're going to have to replace that line all the way from that curb stop all the way to the house. It's usually galvanized pipe, and galvanized pipe, if it's sitting down in the dirt over the years, it'll deteriorate and rust and all those things. My neighbor a few years back had a problem with his. We dug it up, we pieced in a new piece of pipe. It lasted him about 6 months, which was enough time for him to save up then to have the whole line replaced. Time for me to go grab a shovel.